I went to apologize to my wife's best friend. That's what she wanted. But I didn't come empty-handed. I brought a folder. And inside that folder was everything that was about to destroy 2 marriages in under 10 minutes. When I walked into his house, he greeted me like nothing was wrong. "Hey man, glad you came," he said, smiling like we were still friends. His wife was sitting on the couch. She had no idea. None of them did. I sat down, placed the folder on the table and said, "I'm here to apologize, but not for what you think." That's when the room changed. But to understand why I did that, you need to know what I found 2 nights earlier. It started with a text. Actually, 3 texts, back to back. At 2:07 a.m., my wife was asleep next to me when her phone lit up. I wasn't even trying to check it, but the screen lit up just enough for me to see the name. Him. Her best friend. "Did you talk to him? Is he going to apologize? I miss you." That last one didn't feel like a joke. It didn't feel friendly. Felt wrong. So I picked up the phone. No password. That should have been my first clue. I opened the messages. And what I found wasn't obvious. No, "I love you." No clear confession. But it was worse than that. It was comfort. It was familiarity. It was 2 people who were way too close for something that was supposed to be just friendship. And that's when I stopped guessing and started collecting. Screenshots, messages, photos, bank statements. I didn't confront her. I didn't argue. I didn't say a word. Because once you have the truth, you don't need emotion. You need timing. And I already knew exactly where I was going to use it. That apology she asked for? Yeah. I was going to give it. Just not the way she expected. I didn't confront her. That was the first decision. Because once you confront, they lie. They panic. They delete things. So I stayed quiet. And I started digging. The messages were just the beginning. There were photos. One from 3 months ago, hotel room, wine glass, soft lighting. She told me that weekend was a work trip. It wasn't. Then I checked our bank account. Small withdrawals. 200 here, 300 there. Always on the same days she said she was out with friends. Then the hotel charges showed up. Same cities. Same dates. 2 guests. Every time. That's when it stopped being a suspicion. And became a pattern. 18 months long. I didn't feel angry. Not yet. I felt something worse. Clarity. And once I had that, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. So when I walked into his house that afternoon, I already knew everything. I sat down, placed the folder on the table, and looked him straight in the eye. "You said I embarrassed you," I said calmly. "Let's fix that." He laughed a little, nervous, didn't know why yet. His wife looked confused. "Vincent, what is this?" she asked. I opened the folder, pulled out the first page, and slid it across the table. That's when everything started falling apart. "These are messages from 3 nights ago," I said. I watched his face change as he read them. Then I put down the next one. Hotel receipt. 2 guests. Same weekend she told me she was alone. His wife's hands started shaking. He stood up. "Okay, listen." I didn't stop. I just kept going. Bank records. Photos. Dates. One after another. No emotion. Just facts. "You've been seeing my wife for over a year," I said. Silence. Heavy. Ugly. His wife looked at him like she didn't recognize him anymore. "Tell me I'm wrong," I said. He didn't. Because he couldn't. And that was the moment everything broke. I didn't stay to argue. There was nothing left to argue about. I left the folder on the table and walked out. That same night, I filed for divorce. Not because I wanted revenge, but because once you see the truth, you can't go back to pretending. And I was done pretending, because I knew things were about to get messy. Really messy. Friday morning, I woke up with purpose. Natalie was already in the shower, which gave me a small window. I grabbed her laptop from the home office. She always left it unlocked. I opened her email. Most of it looked normal: work messages, shopping receipts, random newsletters. Then I found a folder labeled *travel plans. *. Inside were hotel confirmations I'd never heard a word about. Out of town 2 months ago. Out of town last month. Every booking was for 2 guests. Always a king bed. Always upgraded. Champagne service included. I took photos of every email with my phone, making sure I had it all. Then I dug deeper into her cloud storage. Buried in a subfolder labeled Backup 2023, I found a document titled *Notes. Asterisk. It wasn't just notes. It was a diary. Short entries, but they hit like a punch to the chest. March 15th. Told Vincent I had a client dinner. Trevor met me at the Marriott downtown. He makes me feel alive again. April 3rd. Another business trip excuse. This is getting easier. Vincent never questions anything anymore. May 20th. Trevor says he loves me. I think I love him too. How did this happen? My hand stayed steady while I photographed each page. But inside, something was changing. Not breaking. Shifting. Hardening. Anger would have been easier. This was something colder. Sharper. I heard the shower shut off. I closed everything fast, put the laptop back exactly where it was, and went downstairs to make coffee. Natalie came down about 20 minutes later, looking fresh, put together in her business casual outfit like nothing in the world was wrong. "You're up early," she said, pouring herself coffee. "Couldn't sleep," I replied. "Been thinking about that conversation with Trevor. When should I reach out?" Her whole face lit up. "Really? Maybe this weekend? They're free Saturday afternoon." "I'll text him today," I said. "Set something up." She leaned in and kissed my cheek. A quick, grateful peck. "Thank you, Vincent. This really means a lot." I watched her walk out, heels clicking across the hardwood, her perfume lingering in the kitchen. That same perfume Trevor had probably bought her. After she left, I opened my laptop and pulled up property records. Something had been bothering me. Trevor worked in commercial real estate. He made decent money, but not enough to explain the trips, the gifts, the lifestyle he'd been showing off lately. It didn't add up. So I started digging. That's when I found it. Buried in public records for a development company called a real estate company. Trevor was listed as vice president of operations. But the ownership structure, that's where it got interesting. The primary investor, holding 35% of the shares, was listed under a holding company, VH Investments. My company, the investment firm I set up 8 years ago with my inheritance, and never told Natalie about, because she always got weird about secret accounts. I stared at the screen for a long second, feeling something click into place. Then I pulled up my investment manager's contact. Michael Grant had been handling my portfolio for over a decade, placing money into promising ventures. I called him. "Michael Grant, it's Daniel Carter. Quick question about Ashford Properties, the commercial real estate deal you put me into about 5 years ago." "Oh, sure," Michael Grant said. "That's been performing well," Michael Grant said. "Steady returns." "What? Who are the key players there?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. "Who's running day-to-day operations?" I heard him typing on his keyboard. "Let me check. VP of Operations is Ryan Mitchell. He actually founded the company, but they brought in outside capital to expand. Your investment gave them the liquidity they needed. Good timing on that one." I leaned back slightly, my jaw tightening. "And if the VP were removed, what happens to the company?" Michael Grant paused. "Well, with your ownership stake, you'd have significant influence over personnel decisions. The board would still need to approve it, but yeah, you'd have weight there. Why do you ask?" "Just doing some risk assessment," I said. "Thanks, Michael Grant." I hung up and sat there in silence. Ryan Mitchell's career, his lifestyle, his ability to wine and dine my wife, part of it had been funded by me. The irony almost made me laugh. Almost. Saturday afternoon, Ethan Carter asked if he could take the car to meet his friends. I handed him the keys, watched him pull out of the driveway, then turned back to Sophie Carter. She was curled up on the couch with her laptop, earbuds in. "Hey, sweetheart," I said. "Can I ask you something?" She looked up and pulled one earbud out. "Sure." Dad. I sat down across from her, trying to keep my tone light. Have you noticed anything different about your mom lately? Like, has she seemed distracted? Her expression shifted just a little, but I caught it. That look. The one kids get when they're holding on to something they're not supposed to say. What do you mean? She asked carefully. I'm just checking in, I said gently. You can be honest with me. She bit her lip, then slowly closed her laptop. Dad, I wasn't going to say anything, but what? I asked, keeping my voice calm even though my chest felt tight. Last month, when you were in another city for that conference, Mom had someone over. My stomach dropped. Who? Mr. Ashford, she said quietly. I came home early from Emma's because I forgot my charger. There was a car in the driveway I didn't recognize. When I walked in, they were in the kitchen, standing unusually close. I didn't say anything. I just listened. And when they heard me, she continued, her voice shaking, they jumped apart really fast. My chest tightened hard, but I forced myself to stay steady. Did they say anything? Mom said he just stopped by to talk about work and was leaving, Sophie Carter said. But, Dad. Her eyes started to water. The way they looked at each other, it didn't feel like that. And she made me promise not to tell you because she didn't want you to get the wrong idea. I moved over and sat beside her, putting my arm around her shoulders. Hey, I said softly, you didn't do anything wrong. Okay. She nodded, wiping at her eyes. Are you and Mom having problems? She asked in a small voice. We're working through some things, I said carefully. But whatever happens between me and your mom, it has nothing to do with you or Ethan Carter. You understand that? She nodded again. I heard you guys arguing the other night, she added. About Mr. Ashford. Yeah, I said quietly, squeezing her shoulder. Then I took a breath. Listen, I need to ask you something else. And I need you to be completely honest with me. She looked up at me. Has your mom ever asked you to keep secrets from me? Other times, not just about Trevor? She hesitated, then slowly nodded. Sometimes she gets packages delivered and tells me to bring them inside before you get home, she said. She says they're surprises for you, but your birthday isn't until December, and it's been happening for months. My jaw tightened. Where does she keep them? In her closet, Sophie Carter said. Back corner, behind her winter coats. After Sophie Carter went upstairs, I stood there for a minute, then walked into our bedroom. Natalie was at the gym, her new Saturday routine that started about 6 months ago. Personal training sessions, she'd said. I never questioned it. I went to her closet and pushed aside the winter coats. Behind them, 3 stacked boxes. I opened the first one. Men's clothing. Designer shirts still with tags. A leather jacket. Expensive cologne. All in sizes that would fit Trevor. Not me. I opened the second box. More of the same. Then the third. That's when my blood went cold. Medical paperwork. A clinic visit from 8 months ago. Private medical procedure. I just stared at it, my mind trying to catch up. Natalie had been pregnant, and she ended it without telling me. But here's the part that hit hardest. I had a vasectomy 3 years ago, after Sophie Carter was born. We talked about it. Agreed we were done having kids. She drove me home after the procedure. She knew. That baby couldn't have been mine. I took photos of everything. Every page. Every detail. Then I put it all back exactly how I found it and went downstairs. My phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. Hey man. Natalie said you wanted to talk? Want to grab a beer sometime this week? I stared at the message for a second, then started typing. Actually, how about I come by your place tomorrow afternoon around 2? I'd like to talk with you and Laura Mitchell together. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Sure, that works. See you then. I set the phone down and stared out the window at the quiet suburban street. In 24 hours, everything was going to change. I just had to make one more call first. I sat in the chair across from them and set the folder on the coffee table. I wanted to talk to both of you together. Trevor settled beside his wife, draping an arm across the back of the couch. Sure, man. Look, about last weekend. I think we just had a misunderstanding. Actually, I cut in gently. I'm not here about last weekend. Well, not exactly. I leaned forward a little. Natalie told me I needed to apologize to you, Trevor. She really pushed for it. Said I made you uncomfortable. Embarrassed you. It's water under the bridge, Trevor said, though his smile tightened. We're all adults here, right? Adults. I picked up the folder. So I figured if I'm going to apologize, I should do it the right way. Clear the air completely. No more misunderstandings. Laura Mitchell looked back and forth between us, already feeling the shift in the room. Vincent, what's this about? I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. A printout of text messages between Natalie and Trevor. I set it on the table facing them. I turned and walked toward the door. Oh, and Trevor, tell Natalie I said hello when she calls you crying tonight, because she will. I let myself out, leaving him standing there in his living room, his perfect image finally cracked wide open. I drove straight home. Natalie's car was already in the driveway. She'd said she was going to some Sunday yoga class. I parked and sat there for a minute, bracing myself for what was coming next. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen making tea, still in her yoga pants and tank top. She turned with a bright, easy smile. Hey, how'd it go with Trevor? It went well, I said, setting my keys down. Very productive conversation. I'm so glad you two worked things out. She poured hot water into her mug. I knew you'd realize he wasn't a threat once you actually talked to him. Oh, we definitely established what kind of threat he is. I leaned against the counter. Actually, I talked to both Trevor and Laura Mitchell. Figured it was important Laura Mitchell was there too. You know, transparency. Something shifted across Natalie's face. Laura Mitchell was there? I'm home. I brought some documents to help make things clear. Hotel receipts, text messages, bank records. I watched her closely. Medical records too, from that clinic visit 4 months ago. The mug slipped out of her hands and shattered against the tile. Hot tea spread across the floor. Natalie just stood there, frozen. Vincent, did you really think I wouldn't find out? My voice came out calm, almost too calm. Or did you just not care? It's not what you think. I think my wife's been having an affair with Ryan Mitchell for at least 18 months. I think she got pregnant with his child and ended it without telling her husband, who, by the way, had a vasectomy. So that must have been a hell of a moment for you. I straightened up. And I think she's been stealing money from our joint account to fund his life. I pushed off the counter. Now tell me which part I've got wrong. Natalie's eyes filled with tears. I can explain. Save it. I walked past her toward the stairs. I've already filed for divorce. You'll be served tomorrow. I'm taking the kids to a hotel tonight, and you're staying here to think about what you've done. You can't take my children. Her voice cracked, rising fast. You can't. I stopped on the stairs and turned back. Our children. And yes, I can. I held her gaze. Ethan Carter and Chloe already know what you've been doing, Natalie. Chloe saw Trevor here that day when I was in another city. She's known for weeks. She was scared to tell me because you made her keep secrets. The color drained from her face. She wouldn't. She did. Yesterday. She told me everything because she's a good kid who knows right from wrong. My voice hardened. She understands what's right. I turned and kept going upstairs. Pack a bag if you want. But I'd start calling lawyers. You're going to need one. I could hear her break down behind me, sobbing. But I didn't stop. In Ethan Carter's room, he was at his desk doing homework. He looked up, and I could see it in his eyes. He already knew something was wrong. Pack a bag, son. We're staying somewhere else tonight. Because of your mom. His voice was quiet, steady in a way no 16-year-old should have to be. Yeah. He nodded and started pulling clothes out. Dad, I heard her on the phone last week. She was laughing, saying things. It didn't sound like how you talk to a friend. I know, Ethan Carter. I nodded slowly. It's going to be okay. In Chloe's room, She was already packing, tears running down her face. Is it really over? I pulled her into a tight hug. The marriage is over. But you and your brother? You're never losing me. That's forever. Downstairs, I could hear Natalie on the phone, her voice high and frantic, probably calling Trevor. Let them panic together. My phone buzzed as we loaded the bags into the car. A message from an unknown number. Asterisk, this is Laura Mitchell Ashford. I just wanted to say thank you for telling me the truth. And I'm sorry for what you're going through. You didn't deserve this. Asterisk. I typed back. Asterisk, neither did you. Take care of yourself, Laura Mitchell. Asterisk. As I drove away with my kids in the back seat, I saw Natalie standing in the doorway, lit by the porch light, watching us leave. She looked small, broken, alone. 2 weeks after I left, the divorce was already in full motion. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Rebecca Collins, had already filed everything. Adultery grounds, a full custody petition, and a fraud complaint with the district attorney over the forged financial transactions. But the real hit came from a place I never expected. I was at the hotel with Ethan Carter and Sophie Carter when my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Harlow, this is Amanda Brooks. I worked with your wife at a marketing firm. Okay, I said carefully. What can I do for you? Actually, I think I can do something for you. She paused. Can we meet? There's something you need to know about Natalie and Trevor. Something that goes back a lot further than you probably realize. We met at a coffee shop 30 minutes later. Jennifer was in her mid-30s, professional, with the look of someone who'd been carrying something heavy for way too long. I should have come forward sooner, she said, sliding a flash drive across the table. But I was scared of losing my job. Now I realize staying quiet was worse. What's on here? I asked. Emails, internal company communications, security footage from our office building. She took a breath. Natalie and Trevor have been involved for years, not over a year. It started when Trevor's company partnered with ours on the downtown renovation project. They were careful but not careful enough. My jaw tightened. For years. Almost our entire time living in that house. There's more, Jennifer continued. 6 months ago, I overheard Natalie on the phone in the break room. She was talking to someone, I assume Trevor, about how you'd never notice if money went missing because you were too trusting and too busy. She laughed about it. Mr. Harlow, she laughed about stealing from you. Something cold dropped into my chest. Why are you telling me this now? Because yesterday Natalie came into the office acting like nothing had happened. She tried to twist the story to our colleagues, saying you'd become controlling and paranoid. She painted herself as the victim. Jennifer's eyes hardened. I couldn't let that stand. Several of us have seen what was really going on. We just needed somebody brave enough to speak first. The flash drive had everything she promised. Emails between Natalie and Trevor talking about their relationship, complaining about their spouses, making plans for weekends away, and timestamped security footage showing them in situations that crossed professional boundaries in empty conference rooms after hours. But the worst part was a recorded phone conversation. Apparently, Jennifer had been in a bathroom stall when Natalie made the call, and she recorded it on her phone. Natalie's voice came through clear as day. He'll never leave me, Trevor. He's too invested in the family image. And even if he did, I'd take him for everything. His parents left him that inheritance last year. $2.5 million. He thinks I don't know about it. That's our retirement, baby. We just have to be patient. My inheritance. The one I had kept separate, planning to use it as a college fund for the kids and for our actual retirement. She had known about it the whole time, and she'd been planning to take it. I forwarded everything to Catherine immediately. That afternoon, my phone rang again. This time, it was Natalie's mother. Carol Vincent, we need to talk, she said, her voice strained. Mrs. Peterson, I don't think. Please, I need to say this. She let out a heavy sigh. Richard and I just found out what Natalie did. All of it. We're horrified. I stayed silent. We raised her better than this, Carol continued, her voice breaking. We taught her about commitment, about integrity. I don't know what happened to her, But what she's done to you and those children is unforgivable. Mrs. Peterson, we want you to know we are not taking her side, she said firmly. We've told her she's not welcome in our home until she takes full responsibility for what she's done. And we'd like to keep seeing Ethan Carter and Sophie Carter if you'll allow it. They're our grandchildren, and they shouldn't suffer because their mother made terrible choices. I was honestly shocked. Of course, they can see you. They love you both. Thank you. She paused. And Vincent, we're sorry. Truly sorry for what our daughter has done to you. After we hung up, I sat in the hotel room staring at nothing. Natalie's own parents had disowned her. Her coworker had turned on her. The truth was spreading, and there was no way left to twist it. My phone buzzed with a text from Laura Mitchell. Can we talk? Coffee tomorrow. I replied, sure, 10 a.m. at a local coffee shop. See you there. Laura Mitchell looked different when I met her the next morning. She looked thinner, pale, but there was something else there too. This quiet strength that hadn't been there before. Thank you for meeting me, she said as we sat down with our coffees. Of course. How are you holding up? She gave me a sad little smile. Some days are harder than others. Trevor's been served with divorce papers. He's staying with a friend, trying to convince me to take him back. She shook her head. That's never going to happen. Good for you. She hesitated for a second. Actually, there's something I need to tell you about my health. Laura Mitchell wrapped her hands around her mug like she needed something to hold on to. I have stage 3 ovarian cancer. I was diagnosed 8 months ago. My breath caught. Laura Mitchell, I'm so sorry. I've been in treatment, and the prognosis is uncertain. Maybe 5 years, maybe 10, maybe less. She looked up at me. I knew Trevor was pulling away during my treatment. I just didn't know he was pulling away to your wife. Her voice stayed steady, but I could feel the weight behind it. When you showed me those documents, part of me was relieved. Finally, the truth. She paused. You deserve so much better than what he gave you. So do you. She smiled faintly. I've been thinking a lot about second chances lately, about not wasting time on people who don't value you, and about spending time with people who do. I met her eyes and I saw it, vulnerability, yeah. But also something else. Possibility. Vincent, I know this is complicated and the timing is terrible, but would you want to have dinner sometime? Not as therapy or anything like that. Just as two people who understand each other. I thought about it for maybe 3 seconds. I'd like that. We sat there talking for 2 hours about our kids, our marriages, and what the future might look like. When we left, she hugged me. It was brief, but it felt real. Thank you for being honest, she said. About everything. Driving back to the hotel, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. That evening, Catherine called with an update. The DA is moving forward with fraud charges against Natalie. Between the forged documents, the financial theft, and the witness testimony from her coworker, they've got a solid case. What about Trevor? He's cooperating, trying to cut a deal, basically throwing Natalie under the bus to save himself. Her tone turned dry. Real gentleman, that one. And custody? The hearing is next week. With the kids' testimony and Natalie's parents backing you, I'm confident we'll get full custody, with supervised visitation for her. After I hung up, I called Ethan Carter and Sophie Carter into my room. I've got some news, I said. Mostly good. They sat on the bed, waiting. The court case is moving forward. And your grandparents, your mom's parents, they've said they support us. They want to keep seeing you. What about Mom? Sophie Carter asked quietly. She's going to have to face some legal consequences for what she did. But that's not on you. That's on her. I pulled them both close. No matter what happens, you two are my priority. Always. Ethan Carter nodded. Dad, I know this is kind of weird to say, but I'm proud of you for not just taking it. Those words hit deeper than any court ruling ever could. In the months that followed, the divorce was finalized. Natalie got minimal visitation rights every other Sunday, supervised by her parents. The fraud charges were still pending, but the DA assured Catherine they had enough for a conviction. Trevor had been terminated from Ashford Properties. Without his position and with his reputation wrecked, he lost most of his clients. Last I heard, he was working at a small real estate office in the suburbs, making a fraction of what he used to. But I wasn't focused on them anymore. I was focused on building something new. One Tuesday morning, I got a call from the mid-sized U.S. City Tribune. Mr. Harlow, this is Lisa Reed, editor of the opinion section. We've heard about your case through court filings, and we'd like to offer you space to write a statement. If you're interested, a lot of readers have been following the story. I thought about it for maybe 10 seconds. I'll send you something by tomorrow. That night, I sat down and wrote to the community. My name is Daniel Carter. Some of you may already know my story, my wife's affair, the financial theft, the kind of betrayal that almost destroyed my family. I'm not writing this for sympathy, and I'm not writing it for revenge. I'm writing this because silence protects the wrong people. For over a year, I trusted completely while being lied to every step of the way. I ignored the warning signs because I believed in marriage and in the goodness of the people I loved. That trust was turned against me. But I want to be clear. I'm not a victim. I'm a father who fought for his children. I'm a man who chose dignity over falling apart. And I'm someone who believes the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than a comfortable lie. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, trust your instincts. Check what you're being told, and understand that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. I'm grateful to everyone who stood by my family through all of this. My kids' grandparents who chose principle over blood. The colleagues who spoke up when it would have been easier to stay quiet. And especially to the people who showed me that betrayal doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be the start of something better. Daniel Carter. The letter was published Wednesday morning. By noon, my phone was blowing up. Friends I hadn't heard from in years, former coworkers, even complete strangers reaching out with support. The local news picked it up. By that evening, it had gone viral online. Natalie called furious. How dare you humiliate me publicly like this? I didn't name you, I said calmly. I told my truth. If you feel humiliated, that's guilt, not defamation. She hung up, but the call that really mattered came from Laura Mitchell. Vincent, I read your letter. It was beautiful and brave. Thank you. I've been thinking, she said carefully, about us, about what this could be. I know it's complicated with my diagnosis, and I know this is fast. But, Laura Mitchell, I cut in gently, I don't care about complicated. I care about what's real. And this is the most real thing I've felt in years. She went quiet for a second. I feel the same way. Then let's stop overthinking it. That Saturday, Laura Mitchell came over for dinner with me and the kids. Ethan Carter and Sophie Carter had met her twice before, but this time felt different. More real, more intentional. We cooked together, laughed together, and for the first time in months, the apartment actually felt like a home again. After the kids went to bed, Laura Mitchell and I sat on the couch, her hand resting in mine. Thank you, she said softly, for seeing me as more than just Trevor's victim or a cancer patient. For actually seeing me. Thank you for being brave enough to want this, I said. We sat there in a quiet that felt easy, and I realized something that hit deep. The betrayal had cracked me open, but it also made space for something better to grow. 1 year later, a small chapel in downtown, a mid-sized U.S. city was filled with the people who mattered most. Ethan Carter and Sophie Carter sat in the front row. Laura Mitchell's sister stood as maid of honor. My best friend from college was my best man. Laura Mitchell's parents were there. My parents were there. Even Carol and James Peterson, Natalie's parents, were there too, somehow becoming unlikely allies along the way. Laura Mitchell walked down the aisle in a simple cream dress, her smile bright despite everything she'd been through. She'd gone through 2 rounds of chemotherapy, and the doctors said she was responding well. 5 years, maybe 10. We'd take whatever time we were given. You look incredible, I whispered as she reached me. You clean up pretty well yourself, she whispered back. The ceremony was short, personal, perfect. When the minister pronounced us married, Ethan Carter and Sophie Carter cheered louder than anyone. At the reception, Ethan Carter pulled me aside. "Dad, I just want to say, I'm really happy for you. Laura Mitchell is good for you. Good for all of us." "She is," I said. "And you two are good for her." Sophie Carter came over and wrapped her arms around both of us. "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" "Better than okay," I told her. Later, while Laura Mitchell and I were dancing, she looked up at me. "Have you heard anything about Natalie?" "Last I heard, she's in a studio apartment across town, working retail. Trevor's not doing much better. His business partner dropped him. His clients walked away, and they're not even together anymore." Laura Mitchell gave a small nod. "According to Carol, turns out when you build something on lies and betrayal, it doesn't survive reality." "Poetic justice," she murmured. "Something like that." 3 months before the wedding, Natalie had shown up at my office without warning. She looked worn down, thinner, older, desperate. "Vincent, please, can we talk? Really talk?" "What do you want, Natalie?" "I want to suggest something." She took a shaky breath. "What if we tried again, but differently, an open arrangement? We both see other people, but we keep the family together. The kids need both parents." I just stared at her, honestly stunned. "You destroyed our family. You stole from me. You ended another man's child. And now you want me to take you back with conditions like that?" "I made mistakes." "No." I didn't raise my voice. "The answer is no. It will always be no. I've moved on. You should too." She left crying, and I felt nothing. Now, standing there dancing with my wife, my real wife, the one I chose, I felt everything. Joy, peace, hope, love. "What are you thinking about?" Laura Mitchell asked. "That I'm actually grateful you pushed me to confront Trevor back then." She laughed. "Seriously?" "Yeah. If you hadn't, I might have stayed blind for years. I might have never found the truth. And I definitely wouldn't be here with you." She rested her head against my shoulder. "Then maybe I should thank her too." "Let's not go that far," I said, and she laughed again. As the reception started winding down, I stepped outside for some air. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. * "Congratulations on your wedding. I hope you're happy. I really do. I'm sorry for everything. *. I read it once, then deleted it without replying. When I walked back inside, Laura Mitchell was talking with Ethan Carter and Sophie Carter. All three of them laughing about something. My family, not the one I thought I'd have, but the one I fought for, the one I chose. I walked over, slipped my arm around Laura Mitchell, and kissed the top of her head. "Ready to start our life?" she asked. "I already did," I said. "A year ago, when I stopped apologizing for someone else's mistakes and started living for the people who actually matter." She smiled, took my hand, and we walked forward together. Whatever time we had, we were going to make it count.